Hello guys and welcome to the worst race on the calendar for myself in this car. It's going to be the Monaco Grand Prix, none other than that. You can see we've got one part of the car of the R&D development that worked and the other part just decided it didn't really want to work. I'm pretty sure it's the rear wing that failed and the front wing worked fine, so either that or vice versa. But you know, I'm looking forward to this. If you couldn't tell by the intro to this video, it's going to be difficult. I haven't raced on this track with a wheel. That's a good point to know actually. This entire career mode so far, it's been my first time using a wheel, so I'm adjusting to it as it goes, with the brakes and stuff like that, with ABS off obviously. It's interesting to say the least, and I'm getting there slowly as we go through the season, but we've got to spend money on that, which obviously isn't ideal. I would have preferred to spend money elsewhere on this thing. But the first thing to note is we have a fault with the car. I believe it was an oil pressure or an oil leak, which is obviously great, wasting time in the garage, which you could be practicing, which obviously isn't ideal. But we're going to move straight to qualifying our Q1 time. So we're going to come across the line, and so far so good. P2, there wasn't many cars running, so you can't really judge it by that, but it was enough to get us through into Q2, which is obviously what we want. We want to get the best qualifying as possible. Not really many surprises in there, to be honest with you, other than obviously the usual suspects themselves. But going across the line, our first time in Q2 is P6, but for sure we're definitely going to need to improve on that later on, and that I tried to, but then it started raining, so I wasn't actually able to set a time. And it was actually on P9, which is kind of handy, because if it had been P11 there was no way we were getting through. So luckily for us, we again scraped through. Leclerc was on fire so far here in qualifying, and it looks like he's on for pole, which will obviously be good for him, but we'll have to see how it pans out. We know how it was in real life. We set the fastest lap only because we was one of the first few cars to actually set it. Our second one, on the other hand, definitely going a lot better. You can see we made up so much time and throwing the car around, not giving too much cares, as we was already in Q3. But we go across the line for our final run, and we managed to get P8, which you're probably thinking, yeah, that's all right. But the thing was, look how close it was between myself and the Renaults. It was incredibly close. You have no idea how frustrated I was. Maybe a gear change faster probably would have sorted down the straights. Like, it was ridiculously close. But obviously, as you can see, there's two Ferraris in the front row, which is actually interesting, because Pierre Gasly actually qualified P2, I believe. So Pierre Gasly would have been on the front row, which is something to behold for sure, the way his season's going at the moment in real life and on here. But I've got love for Pierre, so unfortunately for him, a grid penalty, which is good for us. It means we're probably going to beat him for the fourth race in a row, which is absolutely beaming. Like, you've got Leclerc second, Vettel first. I'm not sure where Verstappen is. Verstappen's maybe P3. Yeah, he is a P3. Ricardo P4. Ourselves P6, just behind Hulkenberg, and Hamilton P7, and then obviously Bottas not even in the top 10. Butler and Norris got there. Gasly, like I said, P11. Bottas in P14 because of grid penalty. There's quite a few grid penalties. This is when you start to see grid penalties come into it. But obviously a Williams back row. Not that you'd expect anything different around here, of course, especially in Monaco, being that as it may. But the strategy is an interesting one. We're definitely not going to go for that strategy. We're definitely going to change that. But pulling into our grid slot for the Monaco Grand Prix, it's the most important qualifying and the most important start. We've got to try and do as best we can here, and it's going to be difficult. We've got Lewis Hamilton just behind us in P7. I can imagine him coming flying off the line, and if we're not careful, we could end up losing a few positions. But if we can attack the Renaults in turn one, then everything is good and golden. But we're waiting for the lights to come on now. We've got 3 lights, 4, 5, and we're ready to go, and we are underway. And just like I said, Hamilton just absolutely pissed the start. No chance of me coming back from that. No chance of anything. I had to go wide because I got a little bit of a shove, which I didn't gain any time, so I didn't lose any time either. So it is what it is. But you can see the red halo of Lewis Hamilton's Mercedes just absolutely blitzed us. But they were actually pulling away quite a bit. But then coming into the hairpin, you can see there's a yellow flag, and there's a red car slowing down, and it is Charles Leclerc has retired from the Monaco Grand Prix on lap 4, which is quite ironic actually, to say the least. But absolutely gutting for Charles. But we had to come in. I was hoping for a safety car actually, but we're going on the medium tyre, and now we're going to the end. Like, there's no point doing 2 stops. Like, there just is none. So we're going to be on the hardest tyre possible, and we're going to go as far as we can. and see what positions we can make up. You can see we're quite a way off for P19. There's a few cars in the pits, and one of them is actually the Renault and also a Mercedes. So we're going to jump. I believe it might be Hulkenberg. I'm not entirely sure. It's hard to tell. The screen's so small, but you know, moving forward, you can see we're passing more cars in the pit lane. Hamilton's actually made it ahead of us, which is a bit frustrating. But you know, we managed to get past Hulkenberg, which is fantastic for ourselves. And you know, I noticed that they were bunching up quite a bit. There was a bit of a gap growing, but again, I caught up to him because this is what the problem was. There was a Williams ahead who had damage, and he's just blown his engine up coming into the last part of the lap, and I actually get a legal overtake on Hamilton after making an opportunistic move, to say the least, you know, to get past Hamilton. So we're going to have to let him go a little bit closer to the apex to see if we can actually fight him for it. You can see we're going to let him go down his inside. We'll go around the outside of Hamilton, very close to the wall. We're going to bang tyres, and we're going to get a better run because we went on the outside line. We'll have to defend coming up the hill just in case he actually gets a good run on us. But, you know, as a whole, that wasn't too bad. But Hamilton is not laying down and taking it. A little while later, he just absolutely does us again. Like, this is not the first time Hamilton's just pulled something out of the bag and just flown past us. You know, I'm not surprised, given, you know, we're in a Toro Rosso and he's in a Mercedes. But at the same time, I was quite surprised. But this is at the front. These are the leaders. You've got Kimi Raikkonen leading the race, who hasn't stopped yet, and he's got a really badly damaged wing, so he's holding everyone up for like the last 5, 6, 7 laps. He actually finally pits, so we actually managed to get past him, and then now we actually get time to catch on the cars ahead. Now at the moment, the amount of cars that we can pass is going to be ridiculous. You know, already up in P6, and if not more. Like, we're gonna have to see what we can do. We just keep passing cars. Now currently into P4, coming into turn 1. Hamilton obviously still ahead of us before he pitted, and we've got the 2 McLarens of Norris and Butler leading the race, 1-2. They're actually getting away from us quite a bit. But coming out here, you can see we've got 1 McLaren to the right hand side. I believe that's Devon Butler. We're going to go side by side through into turn 1. We're going to get a good drive, and we're actually going to keep our position ahead there of young Devon Butler. That was very close. We've got the following lap, Lando Norris's turn to come out of the pit lane. You can see he's just got that little bit of a gap on us. So Lando Norris is leading the race, like, as a whole. Like, he is the correct leader of this race, and he could go on to win this race, which is insane that Lando Norris could win this. You can see we're all over the road trying to battle Butler here, and yeah, we're just really making our life difficult. And I've looked at a replay here, and you can see we just get all out of shape before we even turn right. We're almost turning left, and luckily we managed to keep out the barrier, which is what we want. But definitely difficult round here with our tyre wear. Our tyres aren't being kind to us, to say the least. We've got going to have to defend here from Butler by the looks of it. He's incredibly close. We're running out of VOS management, but it's very difficult. You know, he keeps trying and trying and trying, and coming out of the tunnel, we're just going to go round outside, and that's a really stupid move to make an overtake. I locked my tyres because I had nowhere to go. We made a little bit of contact. Looks like Vettel's going to try and make an opportunity here on Devon Butler. They're going to go side by side through here by the looks of it, and if Butler can get the opportunity done, then happy days. You can see the overtake wasn't really on. He's actually lost a piece of his front wing because of that, and he's on our inside. He pushes us through the chicane, and that's going to give Vettel, you know, a fantastic opportunity to actually get past him. Right? It's a really silly move. The move was never on, but you know, Butler doesn't really care about that. But coming in to the famous corner now, you can see we go side by side with Vettel. I can't even be bothered to think of the name. We're going side by side. This is so close, and we give him a little bit of squeeze on the exit, and that's actually going to let Butler through temporarily, I believe. But oh, it's incredibly tight at the moment, like, everything that's going on, especially with I believe Sebastian Vettel, who is the one person we've got to try and worry about here, because he isn't going to take anything laying down. You know, he wants that Ferrari. Look at us, we're all over the road. We've got no traction. Look at the state of our tyres. You can see Butler's trying to give it a move around the outside. Going to come into this. We've got the inside line for this, which helps us out. But we're going to go a little bit deep. And I'm not going to be surprised if Vettel gets past. Indeed, he does. Vettel does get past Butler there. And that was an absolute nightmare. It was so incredibly close. We're going to see a little bit of a replay on it. And I think by the looks of it, yeah, Butler did lose a bit of front wing going into that corner. So he's lost 2 elements now of his front wing, which obviously isn't good. But we've got Vettel pursuing us down the start finish straight. I'm going to go to the inside and see if we can do anything about defending. And no, he's just going to absolutely fly around us. We haven't got the grip. We are really struggling. There's a few laps to go of this Grand Prix, and we hopefully will make it there in one piece, assuming everything goes to plan. You can see we've got Magnussen now trying to give it a go around our outside. We've got a massive train behind us, and you know, we're really starting to struggle here at the Monaco Grand Prix. Our tyres are looking awful. Even on the percentages, you know, they're really bad. One, the last lap, you can see he gave it another go, and we're coming around the hairpin, and something didn't feel right. Something felt really, really wrong going around that hairpin. We're looking at a broadcast shot, and as you can see, as we go wide, we go straight into the wall. And if you look on our rear tyre, we've got a right puncture. We've got a puncture at the rear, which is why we just completely coerced straight into the barrier. And we've got to somehow try and defend this position with no front wing, with a puncture. It's going to be impossible, to say the least. You can see we're taking it nice and gingerly, to say the least. We've got a pack of about 15 cars behind us, just trying to... Magnussen's going for a move, which is... What is he doing? Verstappen's actually ended up getting past. And we're going to come into the last corner. You can see we're so slow. And you know, if we can get a godly exit, we may be able to defend this. But I can't help but feel we're not going to get on the podium here in third place. There goes Verstappen. There goes the Renault. And you can see there goes Magnussen. And there goes Weber. That was so close. And we just missed out on beating Lucas Weber there. It was so close to actually beating Weber with no front wing and a puncture on the rear right. But that was incredibly close, guys. And looking on the results screen, you'll see in a minute, the finishing times are identical to like the nearest 1 million or whatever it is. But Lando Norris, fair play to the lad. Like, you know, the strategy definitely helped a lot, 100%, and he managed to pull the gap to us. Because if he got stuck behind us, then, you know, I reckon Vettel would have won that. Vettel would have won that for sure, as he came P2 and then Verstappen P3. But you know, apart from Norris, the podium looks relatively normal to a certain extent. But absolute madness here. So I can't even believe it. I'm choking because of how unbelievable it is. But it's fantastic. You know, it's first time this season that Hamilton hasn't won the race, which is insane if you think about it. But you know, what a better guy. You know, you couldn't find a better guy to win. So hats off to Lando Norris. I'd say he deserved it. He definitely put the pedal down when it counted. So happy days for Lando Norris. Verstappen and Vettel obviously gaining time. Yeah, look at our time to Lucas Weber, the exact time, but for whatever reason he you know, he got the position. I'm not sure why, which is a bit frustrating. It would have been nice if he managed to beat him, but looking at the standings, Norris has absolutely just flown up the standings because of that. Same with McLaren. McLaren's moved into 4th in the constructors because of that. We're still behind Racing Point, but you know, as a whole, like it was super frustrating. I'll be honest with you, it was. But at the same time, you know, there's nothing much you can do. You just have to take it on the chin. That's what Monaco does. Monaco's a difficult race to do for sure. And you know, I'm happy with as a whole where we finished. You know, we finished in the points, which I thought was going to be impossible. But you know, getting used to everything and stuff like that. But Monaco Grand Prix is over. The next one's Canada, which I'm looking forward to immensely. I love Canada. I love Austria. I don't like France. I love Austria, Silverstone, Germany. You know, we're getting into like the meaty part of the season now. The European season, I think, is the best part. Canada's like the last stop before we jet off to Europe and actually get those races in, which is super exciting. And especially with the R&D. I've got some more points obviously to spend, and hopefully get them as quick as possible. Hopefully not have to worry too much, but we're going to focus on aerodynamics. We can't actually do any more aerodynamics, I don't think. We've got the power ready to match up to Red Bull Honda engine unit, which is obviously what we need. So yeah, we're probably just going to take a chill pill in terms of the R&D, wait till we can actually do some more parts. We've got a big few updates coming for Canada. But that's been it for me, guys. If you enjoyed the video, please do slap a like on it. If you're new around here, please subscribe for more F1 content coming out fairly regularly. I'll see you in the next video, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.